This week it's time to get back to work on the Jeep. I'm gonna get this hood scoop taken care of. As I mentioned to you guys before, I did this hood scoop real quick, 20-30 minutes, I don't remember exactly, and I intended for it to fit a little bit better than what it does, but I just tried to get it on real quick before the next morning. So a few things you can see, it does not have a good baseline with the hood. The hood has a slight curve to it, this does not. The material's a little bit too thick. I don't mind that. I probably would almost prefer it come straight up to the edge. But what I do want is I want it to come to the back and then have, say, a 45. I'm not sure if I want a 45, but I do want to have an angle back there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this one for mock-up purpose. Oh, one other thing. The other thing is right here, as I mentioned before, it's rubbing on the alternator with the hood all the way closed. So I need to make it just a little bit taller. So with that said, we're gonna get this one cut off and use it as a baseline. I'm gonna kind of follow the design because I do like the shape for the most part. The hood, you know, this Jeep is pretty blocked off, sorry, pretty squared off. So the one thing that I might have done was follow this line where it's like a 45 kind of deal. That's not quite what the angles are, but might have done something like that. But I think I like the looks of it the way it is. The only other thing that I contemplated on, you can see here where our Cowl induction hood, whatever you want to call it, goes straight and that line curves. So I thought about following that line, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think that it might make it look a little weird. So again, I like the looks of it the way it is. And the only reason it's quite as wide as what it is because, I mean, the alternator sits all the way over here. And that's really the big thing that we're trying to clear is the alternator. A little bit on the intake, but the alternator is the big one. So anyways, let's get into it. All right, so like I said, we got that one over there, the old one. Gonna use that as a baseline. I think if I recall correctly, I made this at 2 or 2.5 inches. So I think we'll just make it at, just add an inch to it. Because the other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna trim it to meet the contour of the hood so it fits right. And then we're gonna make it longer. So yeah, once we get the other piece made up, I'm gonna clean these all down, obviously grind them flat. There's some Bondo on this hood, so we'll make sure that we get that all out of the way so we can get good adhesion, because I do plan on welding this on all the way. I'll, you know, go through and tack it, but I do plan on welding it on all the way. So yeah, we'll get the new one made, get it lined out. That way I'm doing all my grinding at once essentially, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's get to it. All right, right here we have my base measurements, nothing fancy. We're gonna make a total of 38 inches because if you recall, I mentioned this is 36 7/8 just a moment ago, and I want to curve it back at the back. I don't know how much I can go, so literally we're gonna set the thing up on there, get it secured one way or another, and tilt the hood, and I want to go as much as I can but still have, you know, finger width, pinky width in between the windshield and the back of that Cowl hood. So I'm gonna assume we can do like a 30-degree angle or so, but for now we'll oversize it because you can always take a little bit of steel away. You can add, but nowhere near as easy. So that'll be our base shape. These here, this is gonna be a 45-degree bend right here. Same thing on this side. I guess I could add that, and we'll carry that all the way through. And then, like I said, once we carry that through, we'll cut right here bend this down, and then take and cut this the way we need to and fold it in. So I'll show you as I'm doing it. You know, and if in the future people want me to be a little bit more descriptive about this portion of it, I can be. I personally, when I'm watching YouTube, I just like to see the work. I don't if it's a complex thing, I don't mind a little bit of a description, but I'm not a fan of somebody spending an hour explaining to me how they're going to do something. I'd rather see it and maybe them explain it while they're doing it. So that is how I'm going to do it. So anyways, let's get to it. All right, I got everything mapped out here. So I went to 3 inches, 19 inches, another 3 inches. So when I do that, obviously, just a quick explanation. Stay on there. So 3 inches, 22 inches, and the reason that I did that obviously is because 3 plus 19, 22 to 25, same thing, 22 plus 3 inches. So we have our, and just to double check, there's 3 inches, there's 3 inches, and there's 19 inches. So now we have our measurements. I'm going to cut this out with a grinder, and the reason why is because I have a plasma cutter, but it's a pretty thin material. This is 18 gauge. The other one was 16 gauge, and like I said, it was too heavy. I was hoping that it wouldn't be, but it is. And I mean, it's just a matter of like, so you see this hood right now, and I'll show you real quick. So the way it is, second you click these latches, it pops up, and that's the way it was before. Well, once I put that once I put this cowl on there, it no longer would do that. It was just too heavy, and I actually had to put beefier rams on it to even get the hood to want to go up at all, because with the old rams it would lift it, but didn't want to hold it up. But anyways, so I'm gonna cut this out with grinder, and then wish I had a metal shear and a metal brake, but I don't. So I'll cut it off with a grinder, and I'll show you how I'm gonna bend it up. It is, I want to stress again, this is not you know, show car worthy at all. I mean, it could be, you could spend tons of time on it. I'm not worried about that. We'll bend it up, and from the naked eye it'll look fine. It'll look pretty good actually from the naked eye. Like that one, a lot of people like that. I mean, other than the fact that it didn't form to the hood, which I could have made it do that if it weren't for the alternator. And I did, before anybody says, and I shaved a little bit off the edge of the alternator to try to make it clear, and it still wasn't clear. So anyways, we'll get that cut out. I'll put you on time lapse for that real quick. And once we have that cut out, we'll move on. We'll start bending stuff. Well, that was interesting. It's a new grinder, and I'll show you real quick. Big boy, and it has a shield for a bigger blade, but try to keep one without a shield, one with a shield. The way I have one with a shield when I need it, one without a shield when I don't. Anyways, man, it spins fast. And it kept grabbing, so like you can see here, I cut a whole freaking area. I didn't want to, but I think it'll be okay, because when we take that curb out, inevitably, for some reason I can't talk when I'm talking to you guys. But anyways, you can see that is all janky. Usually I'm a lot better than that, but that thing, it just wanted to grab and walk like crazy. It definitely cut quicker, like, 'cause it just wanted to go, but I don't know what the RPM difference is. But I definitely need to get this guard on there, and I have blades, bigger blades for that. But anyways, so it's okay. Now that we have that done, we can work on getting our bending done that we need to do. I'm not worried about it. Actually, I'm going to take a floppy disk real quick, clean up some of the sharp edges, and then we'll start bending. and I'll show you guys that. So I'll get this cleaned up real quick and go from there. All right, so if we look real quick here, showing 0.45, but when we had it on this steel here flat, it was showing 0. So now I decided to go a little less of an angle, but it's about 30.5 degrees, and it's pretty close to the same if you, so 30.25, 30.6, was slightly more there before, but anyways, that's not enough to tell the difference really. It was 30.5 and 30.6 on the other side. I don't know why it moved down. Regardless, anyways, it seems to be a nice flat bend. Okay, it's 30.4 and 30.25 on the other end, so that's fine by me. So I think I decided I'm gonna check. We can always go more, but I'm gonna check and see what it looks like at 30 degree bend, and then might even go less. You know, now that I don't think I went 45 on that. I think I made a mistake. I think I only went like a 20 degree bend or so, because that just seems like a lot of bend. So I think I'm gonna bend that back to like a 20 degree, which is the same thing, but just backwards. And I think we're gonna try it, maybe I did a 22.5 degree bend on that. I think we're gonna go back to that and see what it looks like. And then we'll do 45 on the sides. All right, I brought both sides back to a just over, so this one's 21.38, and then this side is 21.25. So, and you can see here kind of the contour of it. So, and I think that's what we're gonna stick with at this point. And like I said, we can adjust it. So we'll undo that. So I'll see if I have, when we're all said and done here, I might kind of show you what it looks like if you just do it with the hammer. But speaking from experience, it ends up warping the material really bad at the points you impact it. Doing it with a piece of wood, it does make it nice and straight. The biggest problem is, like, say if you're just hitting right here, you got to kind of spread your hits around all over the place, up and down, because if you're just hitting in the same spot, it will still kind of warp it, but nowhere near as bad. You just don't see those impact marks. So, but anyways, we'll get set up for the next spin and go from there. All right, just like before, got them all close. 44.75, 44.9, 44.65. Added a little closer to that. 44.6, 0.9. Either way, like I said, it's close enough. It's not, it's gonna look fine. We can, when we're tacking it, we can straighten it out a little bit, but the other side's a little bit more interesting. Gotta try to block it up, because now I have a bend here and I have a bend here, so I gotta try to block that up. But we'll work on that right now. I'll get it all blocked up and kind of show you what I'm talking about. All right, so just like I was saying, because of me having all those other bends, I needed to block this up. So right now I've blocked up on this 2x2 tubing, braced down with that piece of 1.5" tubing. Bend will be the same, and yeah, should bend just fine, no problem. So we will get that knocked out real quick, and then yeah, we can work on the ends and getting it mocked up to the hood. All right. Right, now what we're left with is a piece that we can work with. So you can see here, just took up an angle finder, and the angles are pretty much exactly the same. But one thing that did happen, and this is my fault, but I'm gonna go with it. I just don't want to waste money on more material just for an extra 1/4 of an inch or so. Because this edge is rolled and this edge is hardened, or sorry, it's not rolled, it's not as much. We ended up with a scenario that I knew, I should have known that was going to happen. I knew was going to happen, and I just didn't think about it at the moment. But now this bend right here, maybe not quite in the middle, but that line is fairly middle, and this is on the outside of the bend. The reason for that is because of that rolled edge. So I should have accounted for that, and I didn't. So, but at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal. I'm not overly concerned about it. And what we have is we have a piece that is, you know, pretty much exactly a 1/4 of an inch less than 19, which is not going to be a problem at all. I think technically the other one is slightly less than 19 as well, if I recall. So anyways, so now what we need to do is we will get these corners here bent the way they need to be and trimmed the way they need to be. We'll get them tacked in place, and then we have our basic shape. From there, like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the grinder and I'm going to smooth out the edges, curve the edges of that. And oh, one more thing, we'll check real quick and see if we achieved our goal. Make some noise here, but bear with me. So the whole goal here was to get more height and to lighten it up a little bit. So you can see there we're pretty much 1.5 inches in height, and here it's bulging a little bit, but we're right at 2 inches, which will become less as we sand it down, but that'll give us more than enough. So probably by the time we trim it all down, be more than 1/4, 3/8 of an inch in height difference, so which will resolve our issue. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna get that one back out of the way, and I'm gonna get those edges trimmed. Probably just put you on time lapse for, well, I guess I can explain the one side a little bit, but again, it's nothing crucial. I don't have great ways to bend this stuff, so, or to find the angles. It's kind of just a guessing game, really. So anyways, I'm gonna get those bent. I do want it to have what looks like a sharp crease. That's kind of what I'm going for on this Jeep. So but anyways, we'll grab the marker and we will draw a line. Not that we need to, but we're just gonna grab the cutoff wheel and cut that off. We'll make sure the other side matches up. That bend should be the same, but we'll kind of measure stuff out, make sure stuff matches up. But I'm just gonna cut that out, and then when we start trying to form all this is when I'll trim this however it needs to be trimmed. So we will get to it. All right, so we got that trimmed off there, and then so for here, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, all I did was take this and line it up. So I put this on the table to where the edge is there, because if you go back, like once we folded that, this piece was on here like this. So in order to get this mark where I wanted it, I just took this piece and put it there like that, made a mark, and I cut it off. So now, the only other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm gonna make sure that my bends here are the same. About there. Yep. So those bends are the same. So now I'm going to do the same thing for these bends here. It's going to do the same thing. Yep, so those pretty much the same, not perfect, but so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all lined up and tack that into place. And once I get it tacked into place, like I said, we'll go ahead and do a little bit of bend to it now. All right, pretty much got the shape I want. I'm gonna stop doing that for just a moment because I want to make a brace in the back. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do there, but you can kind of see how it's doing this, and I don't want it to do that. So in regards to the way it is right now, I want both of these edges to touch. And if you can push it down, and then that closes these gaps. May warp the hood a little bit, but I mean, I've stood on this hood, I've walked on this hood, you know, in certain situations where like you don't have a lot of choice. So would I recommend doing this on like a application for a show car or something, or anything else really? No, but for this, it's fine. It'll still be good. I mean, I could take and I could round some out of the center of that too. I could go that route, but and maybe I'll do a little bit of that. I'll actually do a little bit of that because that'll help it settle, but still I'm gonna touch it down on those ends, I think. But I'm gonna get that brace made that I want, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. And yeah, but otherwise, I mean, this is pretty much how she'll look. So, and she's not touching, I can already tell she's not touching the alternator. So, and then I didn't end up going back as far as I wanted, so there's a little bit of curve there, but I don't think I'm going to stress out in regards to whether that's okay for the windshield. I don't think it's going to be a problem. You know what, better safe than sorry. Let's pop her open real quick and see what happens. I'm also curious if the hood's gonna pop on its own like it did before, or yeah. Gotta do something about that. I'm not sure what I will do yet though. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, she's a little long. We'll have to trim a little bit off of it, but I think probably take 1/4 of an inch off of it, and I think that'll be okay. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up real quick the piece that I'm referring to, and I'll show you when I got it cut up and in position. All right, guys, I got that piece cut out that I was talking about. I do have to fix something. I don't know if it's because this material's so thin. I've never had this much trouble, but the cutoff disc keeps wanting to walk. So like here, I cut about 1/4 of an inch off over here and only 3/16, 1/8 inch off over there, which is all I really wanted to cut off, but I'll fix that. But I went ahead and made this piece, and I gotta clean it up a bit more, but here's a plan. This piece is gonna sit in here just slightly before the edge, and then that'll get filled with welds, so about 1/8 of an inch, and then I'll weld it, and that'll allow me to kind of make a nice rounded edge. But we're gonna fill this full of dimple dies so it can still breathe. So what we got to do is, I think this is 1.25 inches, 1 inch, something like that. Yeah, it's 1.25 inches. So I got to drill some 1.25 inch holes in this piece, which will kind of warp the piece. So we'll have to kind of straighten it back out, but it'll look good, and it'll also add some strength and rigidity to that piece. So yeah, anyways, we'll get some 1.25 inch holes drilled in that, and then go forward. All right, guys, we're back. It's the next day. I picked up my hole saw. I didn't film cutting the holes, but got it right there. You don't have to have a drill press to do this. It just makes it a little bit easier. But right there, we got our 5 holes. I'm gonna try to do this in my vise first, just so I don't have to dig out the press, but if I can't, I can't. So I'll set you up real quick and kind of show you that. So like I said, it gave us a nice rounded edge here. So we'll go ahead and do 4 more, and then it tweaked it a little bit, but we'll get that straightened out. So make sure we put the die on the right way and get the rest done. Away. Yeah, so that's what we're left with. We'll get it cleaned up. Okay, so you can kind of see here what we're going for. So, this will be, when you're looking at it on the hood, about like that. It won't be quite at much of an angle, less of an angle than I want it to be. And maybe what I'll do is I'll actually put more of an angle on it, and then it won't come back to the end of the hood. It'd be shy of the end, but I think it'll just look better with an edge. So I think I might do that. But if you recall, when I cut this, I mentioned that I messed it up. I didn't cut straight. So I need to make sure that that's squared up real quick before I do anything else. So I'm gonna do that right now. All right, guys, I went ahead and got her welded up while I was at it. That's what she looks like. Got to go through, get her all ground down. She's warm right now, so went through and tack welded the whole back, front, side, and everything. And then I just did some really quick passes. So, because once we grind all this down, you know, they should have decent penetration. I had the welder a little hot, but they're just tacks, so we avoid getting that piece too hot. But I did these quick little welds that should hopefully hold that structure all together, because we'll be grounding most of those welds down. I did make sure that when my pieces were laying together, there was a ridge. So here, we'll just draw it out for you really quick. So if this is my one piece of steel, I put the next piece of steel there, so that way I could tack it right in here. So we should have decent penetration and everything, and it should be good in that regard. So sorry if the camera's moving around. So I'm gonna let that cool down a little bit. One thing I did notice was, for whatever reason, make a bunch of noise there, I thought I had this evened out pretty well, but I didn't. So this ridge over here is now too low. Anyways, this ridge over here is like a 1/4 inch taller than that other side. I'm not sure why, because I thought I measured everything out and it all evened out, but it doesn't. So but anyways, I think we'll let that cool down before we really mess with it too much. And in the meantime, we can work on getting this all sanded down. I'll get measurements real quick. That way we're not sanding more or less than what we need to. And we'll get this thing knocked out. Got it all sanded up and smooth. Hey guys, I got interrupted, but so I shut the camera off real quick, but I got this lined up and tacked in place pretty well. So one thing is that even though this one's lighter, the hood still doesn't want to pop on its own. So I think my solution is going to be to put stiffer springs in or something, but those rams lift no problem. And then one other thing, this was a problem I had at the beginning of the video, but we were touching the windshield wiper. So moving it back like I did, we didn't touch anymore. And then we've got a little bit of gap here, but I trimmed that side up a little bit too close, so I'm just gonna fill that gap. But she fits like I want her to, looks like I want her to. So probably put you on time lapse real quick to finish things out. Same thing, just got to go through and put a bunch of tacks down, and that'll pretty much finish up this video. So we'll get to it and get her finished, show you what she looks like. All right guys, got her all tacked up. So you'll see these little tacks right there. I should have stopped and showed you. Basically the hood was sitting low on that spot. I kind of mentioned too that this hood had little dings and dents in it already. Had the same thing here and here. And all I did was I took a piece of steel, tacked it to it, held it up, and then tacked it. So it's a lot better, but there's still this dip here, but it's more here. So I think I can I'm not super worried about it. Like I said before, this thing's gonna get dented more in the future, but when I go to paint it, I'd rather it not be completely messed up. So I'll probably take and dent that a little bit more. But anyways, like I said, she's tacked up. Quick, we'll pop the hood. Hopefully. So I got to do something about this, but she used to pop up like that on her own, and she's not doing it now. But this hood's still gonna have to come off in order for me to finish it. But You can see we got our clearances. I need to weld the back side there. I don't want to be close to this rubber when I do. But I also don't want to be that close to the windshield. I actually have a decent windshield other than that rock chip and a rock chip up there, which are on the other side. I don't care about them. But she's but I think she looks pretty good. So all that's left now is I am going to clean up this edge here, make it look like I did when I cleaned this up. I'll clean up the grime, and I'll probably throw some primer on her, but Alright guys, I got the exhaust fan going to suck up some of the paint fumes a little bit, but there she is. I just put a single layer of paint on it, like I said, just enough, and then where our dimple dies. So I'm pretty pleased with her. I think she looks pretty decent. So anyways, that's it for this week, guys. Down the road I might take and just put a little bit of body filler in there and try to straighten out the hood a little bit, because I'm not going to try to grind out all those welds, but might do a little bit of body filler and make it look like it's a rounded edge, so, or something, we'll see. But anyways, like I said, for this week, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you like and subscribe, and